I'm a DJ boy, going to Dcentral, minting NFT, from the bayous, being crypto poor but JPEG rich.
I'm excited to introduce our next panel. Here at Dcentral, we have a beautiful relationship with the Cosmos ecosystem. We love what they're doing, we love what they're creating, especially hosting Secret Network, one of the premier keynote speakers here. And without further ado, I'd love to introduce the moderator for this next DeFi Cosmos panel. So please help me in introducing to the stage, Josh Kriger.
What's going on, everyone? I was really excited when they asked me to moderate this panel because it's very rare that you get so many different perspectives on an ecosystem in one panel. So we're going to talk to different leaders, building, developing, having sort of pioneered this ecosystem and learn what it's all about. For a little background, I am co-host of Edge of NFT. We are one of the leading NFT podcasts in this space. We've interviewed over 150 leaders, and we also produce NFT LA on the West Coast. Love our relationship with Justin and Michael, the whole Dcentral team. We do a lot of collaboration together, and so honored to be here today. But without further ado, let's bring out our illustrious panel here. We have the Chjango, as well as Brent, as well as Tim, and Ken and Eric. Come on out, guys. So, Cosmos, let's start by introducing each of you and what role you each play in the Cosmos ecosystem.
Yeah, so I'm Chjango. I host a podcast for Cosmos Radio called Unchained FM. It's also a validator. I validate for his chain, Umee. Sorry, not his chain. It's a blockchain project. And I started in Cosmos at Tendermint. 2017, very early on, building the ecosystem out, and it's done really well. And these are all the app chains that have launched in this ecosystem, which is something to be very proud of. Yeah,
awesome. Let's hear from each of you and what you're doing in the ecosystem.
Yeah, certainly. Great to be here, guys. My name is Brent. I'm the founder of Umee. Umee is a cross-chain DeFi protocol that interconnects between Cosmos and Ethereum. Before this, I was at Tendermint, and before that, I was an early employee at Consensus, so helped build the early Ethereum ecosystem. And yeah, we're building a lot of cross-chain products. Looking forward to integrating with other networks out there, and excited to be here.
Hey guys, this is Eric Chen, co-founder and CEO of Injective Labs, core contributor to Injective. Injective is an open, interoperable blockchain focusing on advanced decentralized financial applications.
Hi, so I'm Ken, and I lead Cronos chain. I was here an hour earlier. Cronos is an EVM-compatible Cosmos chain, and so its positioning is somewhat at the crossroads of the Ethereum and the Cosmos ecosystems. The chain is also backed by Crypto.com and plays an important role in enabling users of the centralized exchange to gradually migrate towards public networks and self-custody to experience the full promise of Web3, DeFi, and NFTs.
Right on. And it's awesome to be up here with a fellow podcaster, and you've gone really deep on Cosmos. So I was hoping that you can help kick us off and just give everyone here a layman sort of overview of what is Cosmos all about and what are some of the key differentiators.
Yeah, Cosmos really trailblazed the concept of blockchain interoperability because back in 2017, people were really bought into this fat protocol thesis where everything is going to be hosted on one single fat chain, like Ethereum, for example. And Cosmos really said, no, this is not going to be scalable. So what we want to do is put applications as their own application-specific blockchain and allow them to talk to each other in such a way that replicates the UX of being hosted on the same exact chain, but without any of the scalability bottlenecks. So
what are the benefits of doing that?
Yeah, again, it's scalability, and I'll let the other panelists communicate what sort of benefits that they see with launching their application-specific chain on their own layer one. There's a lot. You're not making your users compete with other users of other applications that are completely not related to your application for compute and for block space, like in the way that it happens. When there's when there's like an NFT drop on Ethereum, for example, everyone is rushing in to redeem that drop, and then it pushes out basically every other application's users from the block space, and that's an issue.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more from each of you about sort of some of the reasons that you chose to build on Cosmos and how it sort of paved the way for the innovation that you've done with your respective projects. Why don't we start with you, Brent?
Yeah, certainly. So, Chjango summarized it really well. When you look at, app-specific change, you have a blockchain dedicated to one particular use case. For example, Umee is designed for borrowing and lending. It's not as if we're built on like the Ethereum blockchain. We'd have to compete for computation resources from other applications, like different DeFi protocols competing with NFTs. It's more of a chain dedicated to one particular use case, and there's a lot of ways to kind of optimize it. We've seen, think of an application like Uniswap. This is on the Ethereum blockchain, relies on homogeneous consensus. Imagine if it had its own chain and it was able to dedicate them full resources to optimizing their, AMM platform. So there's quite a bit of advantages in going this route. You're not really susceptible to one homogeneous consensus. You get to interoperate with other protocols and kind of have this soft sovereign world where you're connecting with other chains. So it's really beneficial.
Yeah, it sounds particularly important for what Umee's all about, which is lending and borrowing from traditionally not compatible currencies, right? So is there sort of something about that mission that Cosmos in particular helps with where you wouldn't be able to do it otherwise?
Oh yeah, definitely. With Cosmos, I think it has some of the best infrastructure for allowing cross-chain connections between other ecosystems. Like if you look at other chains out there, the way that they bridge assets from like for example Ethereum to Solana relies on a more involved proof of authority type bridge. With Cosmos, we have this awesome flagship protocol called IBC. We can transfer tokens from one blockchain to another blockchain with 5 to 7 second finality. That's really fast, great UI. And I think the fact that Cosmos has been able to kind of emblemise this is just a direct indication of their dedication to making sure that we have something usable. We have something that normal folks can use.
Right on. Eric, what about you? What's been your experience using Cosmos, deploying the technology or deploying at Injective Labs?
Yeah, so Brent has spent some time talking about IBC and how powerful it is and how secure and decentralized it is. And for Injective side, basically looking at kind of like the fundamental layer of blockchain, which is Cosmos SDK. If you want to build a specialized application that's scalable, you're generally constrained within the native environment of the blockchain you're building on top of, which could be constraints of EVM, it could be constraints of scalability and throughput of the blockchain itself. So in order for you to build any type of application that can really differentiate or have a few pieces of feature or value proposition that can really stand out, you'd have to go beyond what's being constrained by the underlying chain. And basically, Cosmos SDK allows you to do that, is to allow you to spin up a blockchain and utilize their extreme flexibility to implement a highly scalable, and for Injective's case, the order book module, the derivatives module, and basically make something that's completely impossible before, which is a fast, stable, and scalable, order book infrastructure supporting developers, where developers can utilize that order book infrastructure for derivatives, on-chain automated strategies, and a lot more possibilities along with it, and really serve, billions in volume and, millions of users.
And Ken, what would you like to add to the conversation in terms of your relationship with Cosmos?
Yeah, so we chose to build Cronos on the Cosmos SDK for a few reasons. So I think the first reason is really philosophical, right? It's this idea that chains represent communities or countries or like regions that have their own personality, and that it is something that needs to be preserved and nurtured. I think that's something that we see every day when we look at crypto markets, and that I've seen now for many years. Just before this panel, like the Cardano community was there and like making itself heard within this room, and you can feel that really. And I think that it's a reality. When people participate in the creation of a token and a network early on, they feel viscerally about it, they are passionate about it, and a particular personality gets built around that, which is incredible, which really drives all the engagement and passion that you can see in the adoption of Web3. And so I think we believe in that, and that has been a huge factor in choosing to support and embrace the Cosmos SDK. Secondly, so we are an EVM chain, right? So we're an EVM compatible chain. So we've also recognized the benefits of leveraging the Ethereum toolkit, the developer tools, the wallet, and everything. But under the hood, it was clear also to us that the Cosmos SDK is an incredibly robust, pressure-tested, vetted by the community in terms of the consensus and how it works. And if we're very realistic and practical, when we asked ourselves how to build a chain that is robust, works well, and that we can rely on, the Cosmos SDK emerged as a logical option. And finally, of course, yes, IBC is a huge factor. The reality, however, and I think Brent, you probably are seeing that as well in your project, right? The reality is that we will all need to look beyond Cosmos in terms of interchain, cross-chain interoperability. It's not like we're going to build a world that is closed off from other blockchain ecosystems. And so it's great to be able to leverage the IBC bridge technology, and we'll also need to adopt and weigh the risks and benefits of other bridge technologies so that we can continue to communicate with the rest of the Web3 ecosystem.
Yeah, that's a really great transition to sort of one of the elephants in the room the last few months, and it's impacted all of us, which is the collapse of Terra, which is one of the ecosystems that you guys connect with that accounts for a lot of volume. And I know that in the news that Cosmos has been on the hunt for a new stablecoin, right? And I'd love to sort of understand more about that journey, how you all responded to that situation, and what you're thinking about these days in terms of sort of that relationship of those push-pulls on tension and finding the right stablecoin partners to expand the ecosystem.
Yeah, so while the UST implosion was really devastating for certain individuals, obviously, it ultimately we regained the oxygen in the room when it comes to stablecoin competition. Just like in Ethereum, there's a lot of different stablecoins at play, and you get to pick and choose. And so I hate to put it this way, but when UST is sort of not at play anymore, other stable coins have come out of the woodwork and said, we're going to build a native integration in here. One that we could publicly talk about right now is USDC. They have put Cosmos integration at the back burner for such a long time, and now without UST, they said, okay, we're going to prioritize it now. So that's pretty exciting news. There's other stable coins now that are currently in stealth that are experimenting with like a Frax model, for example. So now it's kind of the playground has sort of opened up for stablecoin competition, and ultimately in the long run that is a good thing.
Yeah, and I think it's cool to see how I would say, trying to think of the right word. I mean, you guys are essentially, you have tenacity in terms of the Cosmos ecosystem for that type of situation because of how it's built, right?
Right. So you know, the Terra ecosystem did collapse on itself. However, you know, there other app chains have sort of stepped up, and there's a really huge wide support net in the Cosmos ecosystem to really help a lot of the Terra dApps. You know, a lot of them were homeless, and they found refuge in, you know, like Umee, Injective, Cronos, on Osmosis as well. And so they were able to rehome pretty quickly just because the stack is so composable. And yeah, they were on CosmWasm smart contracts, and the ones that are CosmWasm enabled were just able to onboard them immediately.
Cool. Go ahead.
Yes, so just one more comment about what happened with the Terra chain. I think when we look back on this period a couple of years from now, we will probably acknowledge that it's a moment that has been important for all of us in terms of realizing the responsibility that we have towards users. Right? So of course, all our chains are public, and people have to do their own research, but the reality is that lots of people lost their life savings, and I think we all realize now that we've seen that unfold how big of a responsibility it is, and we have to live up to it. Secondly, however, I think that all the postmortems in terms like people saying, hey, we knew it was going to collapse, I don't think that's real. I think that there are many projects in our ecosystem that when they first appeared, it was hard to say whether they would fly or not. Some of the, I don't know, when Maker first arrived, it wasn't obvious to anyone that such a crazy model would be so resilient, and it ended up being so resilient. But it's really hard to predict innovation, how innovation is going to work when you first see it. So I hope that we continue to see crazy projects. While at the same and pushing the boundaries of innovation, while at the same time, taking the responsibility with respect to our users and trying to protect them.
That's a really good point. I had dinner yesterday with someone that's planning a pitch event in Asia, and one of the interesting points he made is that they have a Judge's Choice Prize for maybe not the one that stands out to all the judges collectively as the most innovative project, but the one that could be a flyer, that could fly and you would have never predicted. And, because he had been to so many events, judged so many events where it wasn't the first or the second or the third most obvious project that ended up taking off. It was the fifth or sixth one that just happened to have the right ingredients in that moment. And for me, that leads to just a personal curiosity question. You all are, saturated in the Cosmos ecosystem. I'd love to hear from you some of the unique NFT, unbiased edge of NFT and DeFi use cases for Cosmos that you're seeing that maybe is on the horizon.
So the Stargaze network is an app-specific chain that specifically hosts NFTs. Osmosis is actually starting to do that. So there's somebody building out Wasmo NFTs. If you're familiar with the Osmosis design art, that's pretty cool. And there's going to be some announcements there at OsmoCon tomorrow. But yeah, there's going to be a marketplace as well. So and then there's also Evmos that has a NFT marketplace. Secret Network also has secret NFTs. So there's just a lot of different Cosmos app chains that are addressing this NFT niche, and they're all the primitive is there on CosmWasm, CW721, the token standard. So you could basically build out your NFTs in the Cosmos ecosystem on a chain that you choose, or build your own app chain for NFTs. Cool.
And you guys are all pushing the limits too with DeFi, and I think part of doing that is through partnerships. That's sort of the spirit of Web3, and while we're all here and everyone's so accessible. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about some of the partnerships you have on the horizon, some of the ways that you're pushing the envelope over the next 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, so we just announced a collaborative effort with MakerDAO today. Yeah, it's like you said with stable coins. The Cosmos ecosystem unfortunately suffered a big loss with UST.
I saw your press release on that, by the way. It's already out there.
We're really excited about it, and there's two things we want to consider with stable coins. One is the concept that they need to be safe and reliable. And the other is that we want like a Cosmos native stablecoin that interacts with Cosmos, and we felt that DAI has a substantial amount of collateral backing, the most blue chip collateral, things like Ethereum, Uni LP tokens like USDC and ETH, WBTC, Link, Wi-Fi, other assets that are really solid collateral. And MakerDAO's been tested. We saw Black Thursday, March 12, 2020, when suddenly the price of crypto dropped precipitously, and MakerDAO was like challenged. Luckily enough, we had a community that came together, a VC ecosystem that helped restore the DAI peg. But these are all like different indications of how anti-fragile this system is, and we saw that. And since my time at Tendermint, we've been trying to get Cosmos assets used as collateral for DAI for many years, and we're continuing that process with interacting with the Maker ecosystem. And so with all those things in consideration, we're happy about introducing more opportunities to use DAI in the Cosmos ecosystem, despite some of the unfortunate circumstances with other stable coins like UST. We think that this ecosystem is going to grow. There's going to be a lot of use cases.
Cool. And Eric, what are your thoughts there? What kind of partnerships do you have cooking, and where do you see Injective Labs moving towards the rest of this year?
Yeah, so I can't talk about obviously upcoming ones, but most recently, and this goes really well with the overall philosophy of the community itself, which wants to be basically have as much unopinionated view within this multi-chain world, and be maximally interoperable with all ecosystems, no matter which platform, which blockchain, which type of consensus mechanism. And most recently, I think Injective recently integrated with Polkadot ecosystem, so that allows basically dot asset and many more to be bridged through Axelar and towards Injective, actually with Moonbeam in the middle as well, which is really interesting. And on top of that, and I think right before that was a wormhole integration, where basically it can allow to bring over networks like Solana and also Ava onto the Injective blockchain, and also to the greater IBC ecosystem, and to really allow all these ecosystems and networks to connect together, access to as much liquidity as possible, and turn IBC into a global position.
Great. Ken?
Yeah, so maybe I'll highlight two partnerships and types of partnerships. So the first partnership that is really important to us, of course, is our strategic partnership with Crypto.com. Practically what that means is that we have access to users and liquidity in any of the world's top 50 cryptocurrencies. And that liquidity can be withdrawn into Cronos with very easy on-ramp, and then imported, invested, and traded in any of the EVM type DeFi protocols that you know and love. So, of course, that means that we are able to import the cryptocurrencies of the Cosmos ecosystem, but also those of the Ethereum, Polkadot, and other ecosystems. And that's been a great source of innovation in terms of the products that are being built on Cronos. Secondly, and one topic that is very dear to our heart right now is interchain accounts. And we're at the very beginning of our journey with respect to exploring how interchain accounts can be used to create further innovation. It would be really great if indeed we could find ways to lock certain assets, in particular NFTs, as collateral on one of the Cosmos chains, and use that collateral to take a loan on Cronos and do other DeFi investments. And we're at the very beginning. It's quite hard to make a Solidity smart contract talk to interchain accounts. There's probably a few months of R&D ahead of us, but that's an innovation that we're really excited about.
Very cool. Well, let's ask an even more difficult question, which is for all of us to sort of fast forward 5 years into the future, just recognizing the speed of, the accelerated speed of innovation that's already occurred just the last few years. I don't expect the right answers, but let's just get curious, I guess, and creative. Where is this all going? If we're 5 years ahead and we're talking about all these converging technologies, machine learning, Internet of Things, AI, and then on top of it, DeFi and NFTs. And with respect to the Cosmos ecosystem, what would you predict things could look like?
So, yeah, in 5 years, I have like a... I can imagine the decentralized web really getting more mature and having Web3 primitives being built out and scaled to such a scale that could reach real true mass adoption within the next 5 to 10 years. Maybe not that this close out, like 5 years. But yeah, I think like decentralized identifiers and on-chain names and those types of things, especially if we're experimenting in the NFT and metaverse world. So I really think that we're going to get really creative and have people accessing Web3 applications with their NFTs. I think that's a total possibility. And having metaverses built out, or whatever that means, they're able to have their avatars that are completely authenticated with their keys in that paradigm. So yeah, I think we're going to keep building towards that vision. Like everything that we are talking about right now is going to be a true possibility in the next 5 to 10 years. It's not really built out now, though.
Cool. Do you see like mainstream traditional companies using the Cosmos ecosystem?
Eventually, yeah. It will be through any of the apps that they interface with, any of the app chains that they interface with. The other thing that I didn't add that I'm thinking about now is homes. The thing that Sunny Agrawal, who of Osmosis, talks about frequently is turning distinct non-fungible assets into continuous assets. So I think we're going to be able to buy homes and then tokenize them, put them in buckets, create some sort of like index out of it, and then we'll be able to swap them sort of fungibly. And then obviously plug them into DeFi so that you could collateralize using an NFT of your tokenized house and then take loans off of it to do whatever you want with it. So that stuff's all coming very soon.
Yeah, I'm excited about the real estate use cases. They've been in discussion for years, I think like 2017, and now things are really happening in that space. Any other predictions, guys?
There are quite a few like very interesting crossing primitives that I think like everyone within the IBC ecosystem and a lot of people within this multi-chain world are probably brainstorming and thinking about a couple of primitives that could be explored very much in depth over the next 5 years. Generally there's a lot of Ethereum-based primitives and interesting concepts such as cross-chain flash loan and so forth could all be very much possible in a few years within the IBC ecosystem, and also between multiple networks that's not necessarily natively IBC enabled. And on top of that, I think generally it's not even just AppChain itself capturing a lot of audience, but probably inter-app chain applications and protocols being built to aggregate a lot of these values. For example, the overall cross-chain composability primitive could be very much explored extensively where people don't necessarily realize, which network are they interfacing with or which blockchain are they on, but it's all, being worked in the back end in, a marvelous way. And, there are certainly a lot of, really talented projects working towards this. And I think, Injective, and I'm sure everyone else is here for a ride.
Yeah, we're out of time, so I'll just add one thing. So with respect to Cronos, we're investing a lot in gaming. We believe that it's going to be a vector for adoption of Web3, and I'm sure this is not news to any of you in this room. But as a result of that, I think that what we're going to see is the convergence of DeFi and Metaverse, meaning that all those DeFi protocols that so far existed just to trade assets, meaningless assets, are going to be used to create economies in digital worlds, in gaming worlds. And so if that is going to happen, then I think this whole idea of chains representing communities and being somewhat self-contained, I think that whole notion is going to be super relevant. Game developers right now are already building games and trying to ring fence the chains that they're leveraging for their games for for most of the game actions, and so the whole construct of Cosmos is highly relevant in this context.
Right on. Well, this audience is Web3 savvy, so they can look up your names and find you on Twitter and your websites and all that good stuff. But before we leave, I want to plug this exciting Osmosis event you have tomorrow. Tell us a little bit about it if people want to go further down the rabbit hole and they're already hanging out in Austin and it's a little bit hot out there, so you may as well find some good learning opportunities inside.
Yeah, we are having a one-day conference tomorrow at the AT&T and Hotel Conference Center. It's called OsmoCon. General admissions are open, so you could just go to osmocon.com.
Right on. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us today. I learned a lot, and I hope you all did out there as well.